Mark Pocan was holding, and this young woman stood up in the audience, and she started talking, and she said, well, I'm a Parkland High School alum, and I want to ask you what you're doing in Congress. And Mark talked about all the things that they couldn't do, and she said, well, but what are you doing? Here are some things that you can do right now. And I thought, this is somebody we have to have on the stage at Fighting Bob Fist. So let's give a very warm welcome to Paula Bizarre.
My name is Paula Bizarre, and I am an alumna of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Today marks the 7-month anniversary of the shooting that happened on Valentine's Day at my high school. And I can say that it's really different when it's your school on the news and your hometown that everyone's talking about and everyone knows about now. I remember that day, and when the text started coming in from some of my high school friends talking about a shooting that happened at Douglas, I was shocked. That's not something that happens in Parkland. And my initial assumption was, oh, it's some kid who brought a gun to school and is being arrested. No, that was not the case. I found out that there was at least one person dead, and my heart just sank. I felt sick to my stomach. I remembered that my mom volunteers there once a month on Wednesdays, and the shooting happened on a Wednesday, and I didn't know if she was there or not. So that was a really scary 10 minutes or so that I couldn't get in touch with her, and my mind was just racing, wondering what could have happened to her. And so of course I wanted to hear from her and find out that she was okay, but beyond that, I just didn't want her to have to have been there at all. I'm very protective of my mom, and I just didn't want her to have gone through a shooting and gone through that emotional trauma. And I don't think anyone would ever want that for someone that they love and care about. So I was immensely relieved to find out that my mom was fine. She wasn't there. She was actually with my dad at the phone store buying a new phone. And they hadn't heard about the extent of what had happened yet, so of course, she wants to tell me about her new phone, and I said, Mom, I can't listen about your phone right now, like I thought you were there. It wasn't until I got home from work that day that I heard that the death toll was 17 people at my high school. Even one would have been too many, but 17? Some of my former teachers are still teaching at Douglas, and I found out that my 9th grade geography teacher had been in the middle of teaching a class on Holocaust history. She was teaching her students about how to prevent hate when the shooter came and murdered 2 of her students in front of her. My heart breaks for her. She does not deserve that. She does not deserve to have gone through that. She does not deserve to have PTSD and be traumatized every time she hears a fire alarm. And neither do the 3,000 other students and teachers who were on campus that day. It's just so much more horrific for the people who were actually there and had to go through it and had to fear for their lives, even for a second, that they could get shot or that they might not get to go home that day. It's not fair. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to the 17 innocent victims who lost their lives at my high school that day, who didn't get to go home. And it's not fair to the families of the victims, some of whom couldn't even get to see their loved ones' bodies due to the extensive damage that the weapon did, that the shooter did with that heinous weapon. The trauma impacted the entire community, not just the people who were there that day. I live in Madison now, but I was at home in Parkland for the first time last week, for the first time since it happened, and things felt different. I can't really explain, but I felt more on edge than usual. There were MSD Strong signs everywhere and Parkland Strong signs. The community still remembers it. It's not just something that you can forget happened, especially if you're that close to it. And frankly, I don't want anyone to forget. And that's why I'm gonna keep talking about it, and I will keep fighting for change. And it's not just schools, Anyone who ever has to go out in public should also be taking a stand and working with us. Nobody wants to get shot. Literally nobody wants to get shot. So to all of you who have been actively working towards change and helping with education about the issues and voter registration, I'll give a shout out to Next Gen Wisconsin. Thank you. Thank you to all of you, and for everybody, if you're still fortunate enough to still be breathing, please go vote. Mark your calendars, make a plan. Vote for candidates who will put common sense gun safety laws in place. It is a nonpartisan issue. If you are a candidate and you haven't already, please publicly support gun sense so that we know that you'll have our backs in November. I know I can't name names, but I want to say that everyone should support gun sense. There is a Moms Demand Action table out in the lobby, so please talk to them. Make us proud to vote for you in November. Support things like universal background checks, funding for gun violence research, support a red flag law in Wisconsin. Florida actually passed a red flag law, and it's already helped prevent homicides and suicides by allowing law enforcement to temporarily take guns from people who are a danger to themselves or others. And it could have helped prevent what happened in Parkland. One day, I think that our right to not get shot will be more important than our right to shoot. I'll leave you with a quote that I read from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas that resonated with me. From 1985, she said, "I'm still yelling and screaming like I've always done, getting all the publicity for the environment that I can. I fought without ever considering compromise. You compromise only from weakness, and we're acting from strength because we're right. If I thought I had to compromise, I probably would have given up the fight a long time ago. Thank you."